to can recharge, but we'll recharge while we are soldiering on and doing our work. Let me take this opportunity and welcome you, all the members on the platform, and also welcome the team, the management from Parliament, the AG and the team, and all our officials, the support staff. You're all also welcomed and appreciated, because you are making our work to be very simple or professional. We are able to do our work because you are doing your work. Thank you very much. I'll step off the request to Cindy, the secretary of the committee, to indicate if she has received any apology.
Yes, Chairperson, we received apologies from Mr. Singh, Mr. Brautasef, and Mr. Sheikh Imam, also from the Chairperson of the NCFB, Mr. Masondo, who's got another commitment.
And the co-chair?
The co-chair, I think she's trying to connect because she's just asked us to send her the link.
I'm in.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, I'm in.
Okay,
can you hear me?
Thank you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
I can hear you.
Sorry. I'm
okay.
I apologize for that.
Okay, but then, honorable members, I think you can see at least the co-chairperson has opened her video, because I think where she is, she can do that. The network is allowing her to do that. I'm also requesting, as usual, that members should open their videos if they can, if their network is allowing them, because I don't know if the session is being recorded or is live on 408 and other platforms, social media or and other platforms. So I'm requesting that you open your video if you can, so that people can see, those who are following our discussions as Parliament. We have noted the apologies, and we'll now step to the next item. I'm galloping, co-chairperson, because I want to keep the members in the meeting. The next item is the introductory item, where we requested that we will want to meet the speaker, the executive authority, as the new person in. Oh, I see a hand. Is your hand up, co-chairperson? Co-chair, is your hand up?
Yes, Chair, my hand is up.
Okay, you can come in.
Can I say, yes, thank you very much, Chair. I struggled to
Recording
get hold
in progress.
of you earlier on, but we had agreed that we'll request Mr. Becky Hadebe, Member Hadebe,
Okay.
to please formally introduce the speaker for us.
Okay. Yeah, I think even after
Right,
after okay, it's fine. On that item, the whip of the committee, Honorable Hadebe, can you do us the honors, please?
All right, thank you, Co-Chairperson. Good afternoon, all the members of the committee. It is an honor indeed and a privilege to come and introduce the Speaker of the National Assembly to the Joint Standing Committee on Financial Management of Parliament. As it happened on the 19th of August, 2021, the National Assembly elected Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Nosiviwe Noluthando Mapisa-Nqakula, to be Speaker of Parliament. And then this was following the strong tradition of the South African Parliament, that is Speaker of the National Assembly is usually women. So it is good that that tradition has been reaffirmed again once more. But this member of parliament, the current speaker, needs no introduction because her life was dedicated to the struggle of the South African people. At a very early stage, she went to exile and got military training from both Angola and the Soviet Union. And then during the unbanning, she threw herself to the job of reorganizing the structures of the African National Congress inside the country. And she did that job with excellence. But what was very important is that when she was still in exile, she served in various committees within the ANC, even represented the ANC women's section in various countries like Angola. But what is critical here in this parliament, she served in various committees. She was also a member of the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence and that of the Joint Standing Committee of Defense. But she also rose through the rank to become the chief whip of the African National Congress. After becoming the chief whip of the African National Congress, she was also promoted to become the deputy minister, not actually promoted, deployed to serve the people of South Africa as a deputy minister of Home Affairs. And later she was appointed the Minister of Correctional Services and the Minister of Defense. As it happens now, in 2021, she became the Speaker of the National Assembly of the Republic. I think that as you can see that the country is faced with a litany of problems. The litany of problems whereby our fiscal position as a country is very dire. So we need that all the arms of state must work together to ensure that we save this country, we ensure that this country grows in a proper trajectory. This can only be done when the legislature, the executive and the judiciary work hand in glove in their own spaces to ensure that each arm of state execute its job with distinction. So we have a big responsibility as parliament to oversight the executive. We know the challenges that we're faced with, the issue of corruption, the issue of underdevelopment, the issue of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. So it is very critical that the person who's in the helm of this, of the National Assembly, must be the person who knows the background of the people of the Republic, who know the country like the back of her arm. So I think that this speaker which we're having today, who's going to be introduced to, whom I'm introducing today, so that she can put her program in place so to ensure that this parliament does its job the way it's supposed to do. We know very well that when coming up to the issue of the Justice Zondo Commission report, which is still due by, I think, early next year, we know very well that the parliament was found in wanting the helm of the South African people will be able to really put their programs in place and ensure that we hold the executive accountable. But apart from holding the executive accountable, there is an issue that where there are issues of interest for the country, the executive must also be supported so that it does its job properly. How can we just forget now, just last week in Glasgow, the COP26 meeting, where the other countries committed to about 161 billion rands in support of South Africa in transitioning from the coal to renewable energy. So it shows that the parliament must be ready for that. We must be able to question the executive to ensure that whatever decision which the executive takes must impact positively to the people of the Republic, so that we fight this demon of unemployment, poverty, and inequality. So that's why that the resources which must be expended to Parliament must give it to be in power so that it can be able to do its job in holding the executive to account. But at the same time, it must be able to connect with the people on the ground. We know very well that we have passed a lot of budgets here on the ground. I'll just make an example today. With NEFSAS, there are billions of rands which you put to NEFSAS, but up to now, we find that there are a lot of students who still suffer who don't get enough access to this NEFSAS fund. Sometimes when you go to the other colleges, you find that you go to the NEFSAS offices, these people, their bursaries were approved, but they never reach their accounts. So it shows that the parliament has got its work cut out so that you can show that there's even development within the country. But I think that with this speaker who has been appointed, who knows inside out, she was in the intelligence community, she was in the defense, she was in the MK. So we think that she's in the best position to be able to help the parliament to reach its heights. So I think that we, as the Joint Standing Committee, we must engage the executive authority thoroughly, but not be submissive to it, but engage with it thoroughly so that we ensure that Parliament gets what is due. That's why we still, as we maintained in the previous meeting, that there's an anomaly here, that we appropriate funds in Parliament, but our budget is determined somewhere else by the National Treasury. So you can see that there's a problem on its own in that regard. So what is critical here is that as we turn a new chapter with a new Speaker of the National Assembly, let us work hand in glove and support her and ensure that the work of Parliament is executed properly. When you look at the strategic plan of Parliament, it puts the issue of the constituency offices at the base of the parliamentary work. So how will the constituency offices be capacitated so that the members of Parliament are able to execute their jobs properly, so that they are able to, because when you go on the ground, you are faced with big business people, the people who've got a lot of money, a lot of purse in their pockets. So to be an ordinary member of Parliament in a particular corner, being able to face that so that you execute the duty which the people has elected you for, it needs a lot of resources and support. So I think that with this speaker coming in, we wish her all of the best. I think as the Standing Committee, that as she joins us today, she'll give us a little bit of a framework of what she'll be doing until the end of 2024. Thank you, Chairperson. Comrade, Honorable Speaker Nosiviwe, Nolthando Mapisa-Nqakula, you are welcome in this meeting. We are promised that we'll engage positively with the office and that of Bob Masondo. Thank you, Comrade Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Khadebe. Thank you. Thank you for your warm words of welcome and appreciation. Co-chairpersons and members of the Joint Standing Committee on the Financial Management of Parliament, the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, who is not with us here but has sent an apology, presiding officers, honorable members of the committee from both houses, senior officials, and support. It is an exciting honor for me, on behalf of the Executive Authority of our Parliament, to present to you our 2020-2021 annual report. I thank you for the opportunity to be here on my maiden appearance before this committee. I am certain it's only the first of many occasions that we will still have to interact with one another through the terms of the 6th Parliament. We tabled the 2020-21 annual report of Parliament in both houses in compliance with the law on Friday, the 10th of September 2021. We now present this report to you as an account of the work and activities of Parliament over the annual reporting period. It is particularly important for Parliament to set an example and standard for accountability. Sharing work they have done in preparing the report and taking it through the various approval channels and tabling. I also want to thank you, honorable members, and the entire staff of Parliament. We have had to work through a uniquely challenging period during the COVID-19 pandemic to keep the institution of Parliament functioning. This challenging period called on all of us to dig deeper within our human capabilities to ensure that the imperative of accountability by government is not compromised. To many, this came at a great risk to your health, and unfortunately, we even lost many of our colleagues to the scourge of the pandemic. With your permission, co-chairpersons, may I request that we observe a brief moment of silence in remembrance of those who passed on amongst us, both staff and members. I thank you. Chairpersons, the annual report we present today shows a steady increase in performance over the last 6 years. Parliament has received an unqualified audit opinion with no material findings, therefore a clean audit for the 2020-2021 financial period. This is a clean audit for the 7th consecutive year, which is a remarkable achievement. Some of the key actions which contributed to the 7th clean audit outcome included, inter alia, 1, the executive authority timeously signing off on monthly financial statements, quarterly performance reports, mid-year reports, and annual reports for tabling as per the FMPPLA. 2, financial and performance reports presented on a quarterly basis to Parliament's Audit Committee. 3, internal audit and audit task team timeously auditing the evidence required for performance information and predetermined objectives in preparation for the Auditor General audit. 4, verification of performance information by management. 5, year-on-year improvement achieved through scrutiny and implementation of audit action plans to improve and maintain the status of internal controls. Chairperson and honorable members, the Auditor General indicated that Parliament should be commended for submitting financial statements that were free from material misstatements. This means that Parliament has complied with the laws and regulations.
Co-chairperson, point of order.
Point of order, yes.
Can I continue, co-chairperson?
What is the point of order, Honorable Julius?
Thank you, co-chair. My apologies, Mr. Speaker. I'm just lost on the agenda. I think the introduction of the items that we're supposed to discuss will come. Are we still in the introduction of the speaker? If other members will also want to say something on that. So you can just guide. Thank you very much.
I'm struggling to hear him. Co-chairperson, did you hear Honorable Julius?
No.
Yes, I did.
Coach.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me? I think we just deliberately allowed the speaker to continue because after she was introduced, I think members were expecting that they might be given an opportunity to say something. I think that's what Honorable Julius is raising. But I want to humbly request that maybe we allow the speaker to conclude, because she has also went further to introduce the first item on the agenda. So can we allow her to conclude then before we can engage or allow members of the executive to present to us? That then will then afford members an opportunity to then maybe say a few words in welcoming the speaker. Thank you, Co-Chair. Can we allow the speaker to continue so that she can conclude? Then immediately after, then we afford members an opportunity to say a few words in welcoming the speaker before we can then formally call for the first item to be presented. Speaker, please continue.
Chairperson, my sincere apologies. I think I was lost and I did not realize that that was the expectation. My sincere apologies. So should I proceed, Chair?
Yes, you may. I think
Yes,
members
please.
don't have a problem with it. You may,
I'm
Speaker.
very sorry, honorable members. My
No, that's
sincere.
fine.
The Auditor General indicated that Parliament should be commended for submitting financial statements that were free from material misstatements. This means that Parliament has complied with the laws and regulations for accounting, signifying the resilience of the processes of procurement and contract management, consequence management, human resource management, and information systems control. The Office of the AG also noted that Parliament was able to adapt and remedy its business processes and practices despite the disruption and restrictions caused by the global pandemic and the national state of disaster. I would therefore like to specifically commend the tireless efforts of the lead divisions, the Financial Management Office, the Strategy Management and Governance Office, as well as the independent assurance of the Internal Audit Unit in ensuring that we maintain a strong financial controls and ensure compliance with accounting standards. The audit task team also played an outstanding role in ensuring timely submission of information to auditors, as well as tracking the audit queries to ensure that they are fully addressed to enable a smooth audit process. Of course, I am eternally grateful to the accounting officer, Ms. Kyawa, for providing guidance. Now, as we present this report, we are acutely aware of the daunting challenges ahead of us as both Parliament and the country, and as we prepare for a changing world post-COVID-19 pandemic. Our country's efforts for reconstruction and economic recovery are going to be the center of government work and Parliament. We will be required, therefore, to play an important role in ensuring that we succeed in this regard. This will mean that the requirement for accountability and oversight should no longer be just about the ticking of boxes, but focus on impact and effectiveness. It is the only hope that our people and our country can have to rebuild their lives and making our country work again. We are encouraged by the many innovations that we have already introduced to respond to the requirements of the new normal, as these have ensured that Parliament accordingly adapts and maintain functional presence during the pandemic. We are certain that many of these will become part of our operational mode, even beyond the pandemic and the state of disaster. We should all be proud of the outstanding achievements of our Parliament as an institution and commit ourselves to further improvements in the levels of performance going forward. Now, at this point, I would have requested chairpersons, the acting secretary to Parliament, to introduce the rest of the team and to present the report to you. But in view of what happened earlier on, Chair, I will leave it to you. I thank you, honorable members.
Co-chairpersons, are you still on the floor?
B, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Co-Chairperson.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and also for introducing the item. Before we can then invite members of the executive delegation of the members from the executive to present to us, I would want to afford honorable members an opportunity to also make contributions in welcoming the speaker. I will pause for now and recognize names. I can see the hand of member Jackie Julius is up, and I don't see any other name. Okay, member Julius, you are the only one at the moment, and the platform is yours. I see the hand of Deputy Chief Whip Mapisa-Nqakula. Yes, in that order. Member Julius.
Thank you very much, Co-Chairperson. Yes, we'd also like to welcome the speaker. In this, I think it is an extremely, extremely important job, given that where we are right now in our country. I think our people need Parliament to hold people accountable so that services can be delivered and people can have a better life. We certainly hope that we'll have a good relationship with the speaker going forward from this committee. And Co-Chairperson, I think it is also needed to say that, this committee is supposed to hold the executive to account, and we'll certainly do that to hold the executive authority account of Parliament. It's unfortunate that the chairperson of the NCOP cannot be here with us today, but I think in terms of taking from where we were, I think we had a very good speaker in Standi Modise, who is now minister. And I think the speaker, I think big boots to fill in this regard. She was a fair person in settings, and I hope we can get the same out of the speaker, holding the executive to account and not be biased towards a certain party that she's coming from. So with that words, Madam Speaker, we hope to deliberate fruitfully in this committee with you, with holding the executive authority to account. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Julius. Doris.
Thank you very much, Honorable Co-Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable to the Executive Committee, Executive Authority, and the Honorable members in this meeting. Let me take this opportunity to welcome the Speaker, Mapisa-Nqakula. We know, Mama, with your rich history in the struggle and also in government, in Parliament and in government, we have no doubt that you will be able to execute your task with distinction. We know that you are one person who's not biased, you are honest, and you are always committed to doing your work. We wish you all the best and welcome you into this committee. And we also want to extend our good wishes to the outgoing Speaker, who's now the Minister of Defense. So, Honorable Speaker, you are welcome. We're looking forward to working with you also in the. We know that you are very committed and dedicated to doing your work. Thank you very much, God.
Thank you. Let me check. No, there are no more hands. Speaker, would you like to just respond to the members?
Chairpersons, thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Jules, and thank you, Honorable Nqakula. And I want to assure the honorable members through you, Chairpersons, that I will try as much as possible to the best of my abilities to ensure that there is accountability, that there is proper oversight, and that I can assure you, Honorable Jules, that I will not be biased, that I will be as objective as is possible. And I think that's a bit of experience of me, which you already have in the programming committee. I promise and commit myself to all members of parliament, to all the parties, to the staff of parliament, that I will do my best to make sure that I become a speaker who does not see political parties in the manner in which I rule on matters, in the manner in which I deal with issues. I will be everybody's speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Jules, once more. And thank you, Honorable Nqakula, and thanks to you, Chairpersons.
Thank you very much, Speaker, for the commitment of being the Speaker of the people, the Speaker of Parliament, and not being biased to any political party. We know that you will definitely keep your words, and we will never encounter any challenges. You are a tried and tested soldier of the not of the movement, but of the, you've dedicated your life in making sure that you better the lives of the people. So there's no doubt that you will definitely live to your words. Having said that, Speaker, can I then hand over back to you so that you introduce, so that then you can then introduce and invite your delegation to formally present the item to us.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I will hand over to Ms. Kyawa, who is the Acting Secretary of Parliament. She is here with an entire entourage of the Executive of Parliament. Ms. Kyawa, are you on the platform?
Yes, Speaker, I am.
Thank you very much. Would you please introduce your delegation and take us through?
Thanks very much, Chairperson and honorable members as well. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We will share the presentation on the screen, and I will switch off my video if just to preserve the bandwidth. On the platform, we have our senior managers, division managers, who are across the senior management of Parliament, from the Office of the Treasury, the division managers from research committees, HR, communications, international relations, as well as we have risk. We have appointed a senior manager in risk. We've also appointed as a senior manager in Treasury office, and that is the office that provides assurance to this committee with respect to finances and how we deal with finances. And then, of course, chairpersons, co-chairs, you will know, you did indicate there is an item on the Auditor General, so the colleagues from the Auditor General are on the platform. And then, of course, Mr. Paso, Deputy Secretary Act of Core Business, and colleagues from the offices of the Speaker. I will go to the annual report.
Thank you very much for the introduction.
Yes, ma'am. Can we share the slide? Yes, Chair. Can we share the slide, colleagues? Who's operating, Cindy?
Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you, Chairperson. Cindy, can we bring up the presentation?
Yes, Mechawa, I think Ms. Mabe just wanted to take us back to the agenda quickly.
Oh, yes, because your agenda is slightly different. I'm supposed to be the last item because I saw you wanted to deal with the Auditor General first. Is that what you still want to do?
Yes, Mechawa.
Okay, Cindy. Yeah, maybe guide the co-chairs then. All right.
I think the co-chairs are offline again, but the AG's office will do their presentation now.
Perfect. Can I go in? Is that okay?
Yes, Sharon. Gavin will be sharing the presentation.
Perfect.
Cindy, shouldn't the committee agree who then steps in from the members of the committee? Because now we don't have both chairs. Or is Honorable Mahlangu on?
Yeah, I'm back now.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Am I audible? Members?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, we have made arrangements so that if I'm kicked out or the co-chairpersons also kick out other members, we have spoken to them to steer the ship so that we don't get stuck. I think where are we now? We are on the AG. I see on the screen we have the AG. Let's allow the AG to make the presentation, and we'll take it from there. Is that what you wanted clarity on, Meja?
Yes, co-chair. The sequence of the agenda obviously changed because we wanted the speaker to deal with her matters on their own. And then it was proposed that thereafter we could take the Auditor General. And subsequent to that, we then present our annual report. That's what we were checking. Thank you so much.
Okay. Is the speaker comfortable with the way we have arranged that we take the AG now, then you'll come after the AG?
Yes.
You are available throughout.
I am here, and
Okay.
my sincere apologies that I did not recognize the Auditor General. Thank you, Auditor General, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker. AG, can you start with the presentation?
Perfect. Honorable co-chairs, Honorable Speaker, Honorable members, Secretary of Parliament and officials of Parliament, what an honor for us to present the 2021 audit outcomes of Parliament. In the interest of time, there's a couple of slides that we've got that we've shared actually with the members. But what I will do for the purpose of this presentation, I will just focus on the key slides that I want to bring to the attention of the honorable members here today. And as you most probably, some of you know me from previous engagement, my name is Sharon Adams, and I oversee the Northern Cape, Western Cape, and the Free State Province from our national office. So it's really an honor for me to engage with you. So if I can immediately go into the slide relating to the oversight roles and responsibility. And important to note the key message that I just wanted to highlight in that specific slide. And if we look at the whole oversight cycle and the various roles that oversight happens, and I think on a day-to-day basis, as the AG office, we speak about accountability, and I was very encouraged when the Honourable Speaker spoke about the tide must turn, the needle must turn, so that we start keeping people accountable. And I think that is one of the key purposes where we haven't seen over the past number of years throughout the country that accountability is driven. And I do believe that oversight plays a very critical and important role to make sure that this accountability happens. So we talk here on a very high level about the accountability cycle. So I'm not going to go through each point, but I thought let me just highlight that in terms of the cycles. And I think important to note, if look at the last part of it, and as AGSA, we've got the power now to issue material irregularities. So where there's financial losses, that these monies can be recouped. If I can then immediately go over to the next slide that speaks about the audit outcomes of the legislatures. on a very high level. And without going into specific detail, if we look at overall, there's including Parliament and the other legislatures, there's 5 of them that actually obtain unqualified audits with no findings, and then 5 remaining with findings. And a lot of these findings are basically centered around the area of compliance to laws and regulations relating to either the material areas in the financial statements or areas of procurement and contract management. And that way a lot of the findings was basically that was included in the audit report. Then there was only one of the legislatures that basically had findings in the area of predetermined objectives. So we can see from year to year there hasn't been a huge improvement in the outcomes overall for the legislature sector. And then we've seen Limpopo basically regress in terms of the audit outcome. But the next slide is what I want to spend my time a bit on, and that but specifically deals with the audit outcomes of Parliament. And as indicated in terms of the audit outcomes for Parliament, for another year, they've obtained a clean audit outcome. But what I want to remind members also, if we go on page 107 of the annual report, the electronic annual report, there's just certain paragraphs that I want to highlight that actually speaks to this picture that we see in front of us. So if we go to page 107 of this report, specifically paragraph 2 speaks about the audit opinion. And in paragraph 2, we speak about, in our opinion, we believe the financial statements fairly present for this specific year, 31st of March 2021. And then, so that is on the financial statements. The other important paragraph that I thought we must draw your attention to, that's also on page 107 of the annual report, which is paragraph 6, which basically deals with the emphasis of matter. And to clarify, that's no bearing on the audit outcome or opinion, but what we just do, we're highlighting to the users of the financial statement, what is the area that management themselves have highlighted in the financial statement. So something that Parliament will speak to also relating to the underspending of the budget for the year under review. Then the other important paragraph that I wanted to highlight is basically paragraph 16, which is on page 109 of the report. And here specifically, when we look at the area of predetermined objectives, we basically indicate for program 3, which is core business, that we've identified no material findings on the usefulness and the reliability of the performance information. The next paragraph that I would like to highlight is on page 110, and that is paragraph 30, basically, 20 of page 110, that basically indicate I did not identify any findings relating to compliance to laws and regulations. And that in a nutshell equals then a clean audit outcome for the year under review for Parliament specifically. So looking also, I think what is also commendable, if we look at this specific slide, when it comes to the area of irregular expenditure, where across across departments and entities, state-owned entities, this is an area that they struggle quite a bit on. Parliament for the consecutive years showed zero irregular expenditure, which basically talks about the disciplines that is installed at Parliament. Just overall, what I wanted to mention as I'm dealing with the outcome slide, because then I won't be going to the other detailed slide that deals with the assurance providers and the status of record. The key message there is just on the assurance providers, we did rate yellow, and mainly because of certain areas on the asset management, there was some findings, but not material in nature. And this basically was attributable to staff working from home and the impact that had. But we do believe it's something going forward that Parliament will be easily able to address. What I can also indicate in terms of the quality of the performance,
I'm going to take on it.
There has been improvement in this regard. So those are just the key things that I wanted to highlight. And if I can just lastly go to the financial health slide, then I will be just done with my part of the presentation. And on the financial health side, and as we know, in the previous year, we had a concerning rating for Parliament when it came to the area of financial health, that this year, basically, we've got a green rating, which is basically a good indication, but that was mainly attributable to the underspending of,
Can you put me
that had an impact on that for the year under review.
My
So,
apologies, just a second. Co-chairperson, can you please mute your mic? Co-chairperson, can you please mute your mic? I'm sorry about that disturbance.
Co-chairperson, it's actually Honorable Dlakude, not co-chairperson.
No, it's Mabi who's speaking. I checked the mic. But if it's Dlakude, it's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah. Let's mute our mics.
It's not me.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw yours was closed. It's fine. You can continue, ma'am. I'm sorry about it.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. So from a financial health, so we do see the improvement compared to the prior year, where overall when we were looking at this in terms of the factors and indicators, a green rating was given for Parliament. The last slide I then want to deal with relates to the extended powers that was given for the AG in terms of the material irregularities. And this has been implemented at a number of departments, entities, state-owned entities since 2018-19. Specifically, Parliament is one that we have not implemented, as we are looking in a phase-in approach in this regard. But just to indicate in terms of these new powers that has been given to the AG, when it comes to identifying material irregularities in terms of non-compliance to laws and regulations resulting in a financial loss that was identified during the audit. So important to note, and I'm sure from the other oversight processes is also this happened, it's a key matter that we are discussing consistently from the AGSA side. And to date, basically not for Parliament, everything is in order at Parliament itself. But I thought let me just share on a high level what are some of the material irregularities that we've issued across board. So in total, we've issued about 132 material irregularities. And in 122 cases, these matters are not resolved, and a potential financial loss of 8.4 billion across the board that we are basically pursuing, that these matters has been issued across the board to the accounting officers for follow-up. But we do find that the whole matters of investigations and dealing with consequence management does take long. Lastly, Chair, I want to say we do commend Parliament for their achievement once again of a clean audit outcome. And I think one of the key role players in terms of the assurance providers, each assurance providers plays the key role that they've got to play as part of this process. And I think that's what makes the huge difference in terms of the functioning of the financial management system, because even though it was a pandemic, it was difficult, Parliament will still in a position to sustain their clean audit outcome. So thank you, Chair, from my side.
Thank you, AG. Are you done, or is there anything else that you want to share from your team?
We are done from our side, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we'll go back to our initial agenda. We will allow members to comment or ask for clarity, or just to get into the discussions with on the matter presented by the AG. I will see by the raise of hand if members want to speak to the presentation before we go to the last item. I'm seeing Honorable Hadebe. Any other member? I think members are still checking on their notes because the AG's report is very important. Okay, I see Honorable Jacques Julius. On two for now. Honorable Hadebe.
No, thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Whip, just a second. Honorable members, the meeting is live on 408. Please open your video if you can. If your network is stable, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. On my side, the network's not so stable. I have only 2 bars on my signal. So if I open it up, I'm gone.
Okay. No, you're just like me.
Thank you, Honorable Co-Chairperson. I think that first of all, we'll have to appreciate the work done by the Office of the Auditor General in ensuring at least that the resources of the state in particular are expended properly. But what I just want to ask is the issue of the balance sheet of Parliament. What did the Office of the Auditor General advise Parliament, in particular concerning its liabilities vis-a-vis its assets? Because if it was a going concern, I think it would have been kaput a long time ago. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Khadebe, Honorable Julius Jacks. JJ.
Thank you, Co-Chair. But just from me, just one a question quickly. I just want the AG's office just to clarify or elaborate more on the quality of performance outcomes. What did they exactly look at? The outcomes that we had, that we met, obviously, or the actual quality of those outcomes? Because our performance indicators, and I think we discussed this in the past, that the performance indicators are a bit skewed. I think it's not enough performance indicators on there, one or two, and sometimes it's very easy to accomplish. So can we just elaborate on the quality of performance outcomes, how they see it, and how they looked at it? Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Any other member who wants to have a bite? Any other member? None so far. I think we have those two members' comments. And before I hand over to you, AG, I think I want to add to what Honorable Julius is saying in terms of the outcome. We appreciate what you have done, the work that is done by the Parliament. And we also acknowledge that our expectation will not be the same as the evaluation that will be given to the performance of a municipality or a department, because there they deal with direct service delivery. But mine is on the outcome itself, the impact on the indicators. Have you looked at that when you were auditing, so that we can also be comfortable? Not that there's anything that we are not happy with, but I think it's something that we have always emphasized to say when the AG is auditing, the outcome must speak to the performance must speak to the impact. Thank you, AG.
Thank you, Chair, through you, and thank you for those questions from yourself and the honourable members. So if I can maybe deal with the first one, Chair, in one relating to the performance report and the outcome, and what from our perspective are we looking at, and of course, as you were raising also in terms of the intended impact of this. So from our side, when we're looking at this information, it's basically twofold when we're looking at this information, from looking at the performance indicators and the targets that's been set. So first of all, it would be important for us when looking at these targets, can it be measured? So the targets that's been set there, is it basically measurable? So what we say is the target specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it real? And is it time-bound? So we're basically looking at, and that is the first part of it. The second part that we look at the reliability of this information to say, if, for example, in terms of what Parliament indicated they would deliver on, did they actually deliver on it, and can we actually confirm it with the necessary evidence? Now, if we look specifically at the program that we've selected for audit purposes, which was Program 3, which was core businesses. So key from Parliament side, they've indicated in cases when the target was there and also in cases where these targets could not be achieved, and basically give the reasons for that. So overall, if we look at the annual report from page 35, that basically deals specifically with this program that we've basically audited and looked at. So some of the targets that would be there, it would basically talk about percentage of the population having access to participate in parliamentary processes. And so basically when we basically look at it, what is the core business of Parliament? And basically taking the core business of Parliament into account and saying, does the indicators then speak to the core business of Parliament? So that is basically how we would assess looking at the indicators. And secondly, it would be the reliability and looking based on the numbers that's indicated there, either in numbers or percentage, that Parliament achieve it. So important then from the members and the honourable members is to ask the question, when there's those underachievement of targets, in some cases as Parliament reported, there was underachievements of targets, and sometimes they met their targets, and it's to ask the question, what would be the intended impact on the service delivery would be. But as our office, we don't specifically look at the detail to say, in terms of the target, the intended impact, and that is basically a responsibility then of the accounting officer in that regard. So when we provide the assurance on these targets, we're basically looking, can we actually measure it based on evidence? And secondly, we confirm it based on the evidence that's available. So that is the first part of it. Then the second question, Chair, through you, relating specifically to the balance sheet of Parliament and how that information is looking currently. Now, as previous years, I think this is a matter that comes up for discussion in terms of concerning when we specifically look in terms of Parliament financial viability. What we've noticed for the current year when we've made the assessments, it's important that we look in terms of your current obligations that you have, in terms of your liabilities or money that you owe to people, will you be able to settle that obligations with immediate effect? And from our perspective, when we were looking at this, when we looked at the current assets, which is basically the cash available in the bank compared to what Parliament owed other creditors, those things it didn't exceed. So there was sufficient money for Parliament basically to make good on the creditors that they owe. The other challenge that Parliament do have, and this relates to the post-retirement benefits of the members, and I think it's a topic that we have discussed previously. And the main reason for that as members of Parliament, so post-retirement benefits basically taken into account when members retires, specifically relating to medical benefits. There's certain obligations based on how these medical benefits are set up that Parliament will have to pay. But how it basically works from a statutory appropriation perspective, when this basically happens, Parliament, in terms of their budget, would basically get these funds from National Treasury. So it's a case from an accounting perspective, basically, you've got to make a provision, but although that provision will come maybe in 20 years' time or 30 years' time, you've got to show the present value of that provision. Although looking at that provision, it's not something that you will have to pay out immediately. So, but you have to disclose what is your future obligations going forward. And you would notice in the financial statements, that is basically shown as a non-current liability, which is basically a long-term liability that's not due within the next year. So from our audit perspective, we were very comfortable that Parliament, every time when there's members that's retire and there's medical expenses that Parliament has to pay, it basically comes via the statutory appropriation that is basically received from National Treasury. So overall, looking from a going concern perspective for Parliament specifically, able to meet their current obligations. If we look at the financial statements, they are able to basically meet their current obligations. And for those long-term obligations that's there, when the monies are due to be paid out because of post-retirement benefits, then basically National Treasury via the statutory appropriation does make that money available. Chair, I'll
Thank you very much.
Questions.
Okay. Can I check the members if they are fine with the responses or they want to make a follow-up? You can have a second bite.
On my side, I'm comfortable, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Julius, are you fine? or any member who wants to make a follow-up?
I'm fine, Co-Chair. I'm fine for now, Co-Chair. It's just one question. I can't switch on my camera now, but just one question that came up through the responses. What will be the effect of a quick asset test when it comes to our assets and liabilities? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Before I allow the AG to respond to that or clarify that, I also want to I want to ask something or request the AG to confirm whether there's a good, because we remember, members, that as we started in this committee for this 6th Parliament, we made a commitment that we want to set the standard high and we want to be an example. And so that as Parliament, we must do our things correctly so that we are able to do our oversight in other institutions or departments. So what I want the AG to confirm, because usually what we find in other institutions is that it's either they don't have internal audit committees or they have internal audit committees, but those internal audit committees are not functional or are not assisting in terms of the performance of the institution. So I will request that you confirm that you are working very well. You get you have a good working relationship with the internal audit committee of Parliament. Thank you. Over to you, Madam AG.
Thank you so much, Chair, for those questions, and if I may respond. So if I can go to the first question of the Honourable Member relating to assets compared to liabilities of Parliament itself, and if we go to page 53 of their set of financial statements, I think it's clearly indicated when it comes to the immediate debts or obligations that they've got to pay, they are able then to basically settle this immediate debts and obligations. So if we, for example, look in total in terms of what is sitting in their current assets is about 372 million sitting there. And then in terms of, 372 billion sitting there. And in terms of the liability sides, there's about 258 sitting there. So from that perspective, if you look at the assets versus the liabilities, the assets is greater. But definitely when it comes to the non-current part, and here specifically the non-current part for the assets, we would look at the property, plant and equipment, heritage assets. And in that case, when we compared it with the non-current liability, which a big portion of that is the post-retirement benefit, which is basically sitting at a huge amount of 1.7 billion in the financial statements. So as a result of that post-retirement benefit, and as I was explaining, this is much more a long-term payment that over a period of time based on when retirement will take place by various members, that this obligation will be settled. But how from an accounting perspective it works, although you will settle this obligation in sometimes 10 years, 20 years time, you've got to make that calculation as if you're paying it now. So from that perspective, we are comfortable that there is sufficient money because it comes via the statutory appropriation, and National Treasury then takes accountability to pay that as part of additional to Parliament's budget that they do pay. So we do not have a challenge in terms from Parliament not being able to operate as a going concern from that perspective. The second one just related to our working relationship with the internal audit and the audit committee. And I can indicate with Parliament's internal audit and the audit committee, that's been a very good working relationship, good robust discussions in terms of their role that they play, oversight. And from our sides, we do regularly attend these audit committee meetings and speak about matters that we want to bring to their attention. So I must indicate there is very good working relationship in this regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And maybe one has to appreciate and say bravo to the team Parliament, you are making us proud that we are making an impact. The things that we've been raising seem to be, or they are really being taken into consideration, and the leadership of Parliament, you are really making us proud as the committee that we don't just raise things for the sake of raising them, you are taking them to account. Thank you very much. AG, I think one has to appreciate the work that you're doing overall, because we also work with you in other institutions. Can we now step off from this item and go to Mejawa, the acting secretary, to make a presentation. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Chairperson. I need to be guided by you because a lot of what we were going to go through has been covered by the AG. So my proposal is that I started differently. Then, of course, I will make selections of the slides I want to share with the meeting. If you allow me to do that, Chair, I will proceed.
Okay. Can I check with the members, the committee, if we agree with that approach? And the proposal, I think, is very progressive. You don't want to repeat what has been said, but you want to respond to the issues that are relevant. Members, are you fine with the proposal from the acting secretary?
Agree?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Mechawa, you can go on.
Thank you so much. I'll start off with the SMART indicators. Honorable members, you will realize I'm not on the slide yet, but I'll just explain that indeed this committee did indicate in the many meetings we presented to yourself that our indicators have to be refined. To date, on the first quarter report that we presented to yourselves, we did revisit our indicators, and in fact, we moved away from bean counting, turnaround time, to introducing a Google-based stakeholder satisfaction survey. And we collate data on a quarterly basis, wherein we request members to indicate the usefulness, accessibility, timeliness, as well as meaning the quality of information you receive. I can tell you now, honorable members, that the data that is coming up now, it's quite good because it's real data. It's every quarter and it's cumulative. It's giving us a picture. We presented on the first quarter report on the 3rd of September. I'm raising this because I want to indicate that we have actually improved given the inputs, and because our view is that if we have better research documents, if we have better summaries of reports of the APP from various departments given to yourselves, it will assist members to actually have an impact on overseeing the departments as it is your mandate. So that matter we are addressing, and we continue to improve on the indicators. The second part I wanted to talk to is the one that has just been completed. In terms of permit, we've raised the permit issue, and because it is a liability, we have raised it, and the executive authority, that is the speaker and the chair, are awaiting our proposal on how we can deal with it, and we've met with National Treasury. The fundamental challenge about this liability is that it does distort our baseline. So working through the Treasury Office, Henry, we have actually made proposals that we're going to be presenting to the Executive Authority on how this liability can actually be moved from the baseline budget of Parliament, because sometimes, as truth may have, we do run short because we never know the number of members that take on Parliament. And Parliament is an act of Parliament that was introduced in 1994 or 1996. So, Chair, I think those are the two things that I thought we will raise. And then to just reaffirm the fact that when we present in the next quarter report, you will see that our indicators Our targets have been revisited, and we are aligning those with the strategy of the sixth Parliament. Having said that, I just want to go to the presentation. If we go to slide, can we move on? Highlights, the next one. Go to slide 13, where we have, yes, that one. Honourable members, this is the service charter that we assessed, and we assessed against the programs. And this is Water Under the Bridge. It is the report already audited by the AG, and the AG has indicated that evidence and support that we gave there is the evidence we gave that supported the fact that we had met those targets. And initially we had 14 targets, we've met 7. We had 14, we met 9. We had 5 that we didn't meet. And just a quick explanation, the members will remember that we used to have our annual surveys. And those annual surveys, we would then we would outsource it, and they would actually be carried out by an independent entity. During COVID, there was a challenge of accessing face-to-face interviews. So what we've done here, 2 things. The first thing is we are going to do exactly what I was talking about, quarterly stakeholder satisfaction surveys, wherein we issue links to members. And I'd like, on behalf of our managers, that members don't delete the link we send you. It asks you to complete the questionnaire. We depend on that feedback for us to make sure that we improve the work that we do in supporting yourselves. This is the area of the client satisfaction survey. In terms of the population accessing information of Parliament, we have retained that platform as an independent platform, because this is a survey that is almost like a mirror into which we look so that we strategize better. So we still have commissioned one aspect of the survey, that is public opinion on how Parliament is accessed, whether they like the information of Parliament, it's easy to participate in Parliament. And we want to put it across in this committee that this is an area also that Honourable Khadira spoke about. If part of the research shows us that the constituency offices are not used effectively, because if the constituency offices were used effectively, communities would be able to approach and have immediate access to constituency offices and get to know how to lobby Parliament, how to engage with Parliament. So there's an area where we have been tracking whether people know where their constituency offices are. It's a low number. Whether have they visited them, it's a low number. And when we drill data, we can show you that that's an area we need to improve going forward. And we are still assessing that through the survey. So that's the one slide I thought is important for the committee to look at. You will see that definitely those reds will be more greens. We don't do the 7-day turnaround time anymore. We actually do still, yes, the timelessness, but we do the quality. And obviously, members have said part of what we should be looking at going forward is how we define primary research and secondary research. And I know my colleague, Dr. Gabriel, is looking at that, because we do have a cohort of specialist researchers who are quite exceptional with PhDs. We're aware that we can actually reorganize our staff in a manner that they can actually do primary research and not necessarily depend entirely on secondary research. That's the one slide. The other slide that I thought would be important for this meeting is on slide, I'll tell you the pages just now, on slide 27. The core business, I think, on slide, yes, that one. Honourable members, you realize that this program is the only program that has quantitative indicators. And it is so because we base our targets on, if we do the indicator descriptors, we base our targets on percentages that are generated from data. So, but what we've also done with core business, wherein we were counting days, we have realigned them such that when we report, we will definitely be providing you with reports that talks about the quantity. So we'll have the quantitative research than just quality. Yes, quality will stay, because that's going to be the narrative that we use. And you will see that in this area, the only reason we have the red is primarily on the basis of what I indicated, that due to COVID, we couldn't get as much a big sample as we would have liked to. And the method of face-to-face research didn't work properly. I'm going to move on to the next slide, that is slide number 17. On the financial statements. Yeah, go on. I think my numbering is just go to the financial statements. Yes. Then the next one, the next slide, I'm sorry. I think what we're showing here is, in terms of compensation, when you look at our annual report, you will see that there's a variance of 8%. And this is a result of the resignations and unfilled positions that we continue to interview on. And then, of course, we have that negative 7%. It's audited. It indicates that when members leave Parliament, sometimes we never know how much it is that we're going to pay out. And the AG has spoken to that. And the rest are straightforward, and they have been audited by the auditor, and they have found nothing untoward. I'm now going to move to the last one, which is on, that's the right one. Yeah, no, the permit one. I do want to yes, thank you, to reiterate, and the AG has said, yes, we are not a going concern, but I must say, honorable members, the audit committee continues to say we are a going concern. We're sitting with a liability of 1.4 billion. And as I've said, this comes from permit. And what we are trying to do now, we have narrated that we actually have National Treasury working with us to try and see how we can exclude that permit from our baseline. In addition to that is the political party funding, and of course, loss of office gratuity. These are matters that definitely have to be discussed at an executive level, as well as through the correct forums of this institution. Chair, I'm not going to waste your time. At the end, if we go to the last slide on this annual report, we reiterate, go on. We do reiterate that as Parliament, we tried our best during COVID to retain the high level of performance, and that strategic prioritization of scarce resources has been embedded in planning processes, and that Parliament has to minimize disruption of performance levels. And we tried very hard to support our staff working from home. You have seen in the first quarter, our report, we showed you that even the movement of our budget can show you that a lot of budget has moved towards ICTs, enablers, tools of trade, airtime. So it does actually explain that expenditure has moved to where it's supposed to move to. And then we do indicate that the declining operational budgets, and here I must say, the reason why we worried about the declining operational budget is that it does become an institutional risk for as long as we have to complement, for instance, the party political allowance. If there is shortage, we take from the goods and service. Permit is hidden under the OPEX, and we keep moving it when we have to complement whatever the deficit is. But largely, to date, what we have done is we've reprioritized our resources. And then, of course, the AG has indicated that it, affirming that Parliament has got strong internal control environment. We've had a 6th, 7th clean audit. But the most important thing is to make sure when we go into the 6th Parliament, honorable members, we have restructured our program. You have seen it. Our E&E is slightly different. We want to show you going forward that our budget should be driven by lawmaking, public participation, oversight. Hence, you will see the program structure of Parliament has been changed, and we have submitted to National Treasury. And going forward, we're going to be reporting like that. Finally, as officials of Parliament, we are also proposing that all allocations that are using us as just transmitters of money should actually possibly be put under the direct fund, but that's the discussion we're going to be having with our National Treasury. Lastly, from my side, co-chairs, honorable members, honorable speaker, we have the head of the Treasury Office who is going to present to the Executive Authority the need and the cycle through which Parliament can appropriate its budget. In this case, we activate and have to comply with Section 18, Chapter 3 of the FMPPLA. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will leave it at that because a lot of these things are done and dusted. It's a report of the past year. We have been found clean on that. And of course, anything from here is to improve our performance and listen to your inputs and refine our product going further. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mechawa, for the presentation. Can members indicate by raising their hand? If you are unable, you can also just indicate. Honorable members, can you raise your hand and participate or let's have a discussion on the presentation by the Acting Secretary? Okay. I see Honorable Mletsani. That will be the first one. Honorable Jax Julius, JJ. Honorable Lisoma. In that order, please. Dr. Mletsani, you can start.
Thank you, Chair. I've heard the Secretary mentioning that they are working with the Treasury to address the issue of permit. I just want to check with her. How far are they with the discussions to deal with the matter, or they have only just agreed that they will work with them in order to resolve that matter of permit, because it has been dragging now for some time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable JJ Julius.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Mine is just a few issues on, like Mechawa said, improving and performance, some practical but also forward-looking stuff on oversight. Now, in terms of oversight, our questions, whether it's oral or written, I think needs a bit of beefing up because it's a very, very important aspect of oversight in Parliament. We had a dismal report on questions, whether it is written or oral. The written questions sometimes is answered very late, sometimes not even answered by ministers, and we have rules in terms of when questions should be answered. So that Metawa can just give something on that. The questions, what will we improve? What's our current situation in terms of questions? Are we on par? Are we failing dismally? I think we're failing dismally in terms of holding the executive to account when it comes to questions. And then also legal services. Committees seek legal services from time to time, and sometimes it's very, very late. And there are rules in terms of when legal services should be given to committees or other entities relating to Parliament. So can we just, can Metawa just explain on that? How far are we and maybe forward-looking in terms of improving our performance? Thank you, Co-Chair.
Honorable Lusuma. Thank you, Honorable Julius. Honorable Lusuma, you're next.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and good afternoon, colleagues. And also good afternoon, Honorable Speaker. If you may allow me first not to put on my video while we are having a load shedding in Durban.
I can
thank you very
sense
much.
that
Firstly, Chair,
your network is not stable.
Thank you very much. Firstly, Chair, probably I will combine informed by my statement that I'm going to make will be informed by the AG's presentation as well, to say what has been demonstrated very clearly to me in terms of good administrative ethics, as it were, is that even if you are in an acting position, but it doesn't mean that you must not be accountable in terms of respecting all the laws and regulations that governs the space that you operate within. In short, I'm saying I am encouraged by the performance led by the administration through the Office of the Speaker, by our acting secretary, as it were, that there has been a great improvement since I started joining this committee, and it's much highly appreciated. And there's value add in all the things that we have been doing, and raising also some of the issues that we have been raising, which are not necessarily on the agenda item in question, but they do their level best to respond to those issues practically. So, Chair, the first question that I will seek guidance on is that, which I'll make a positive response, that we appreciate that there's a surplus, whether you call it a surplus or savings, as it were, but noting that there are no rollovers. How does Parliament intend to keep that standard where there's no under expenditure, there's nothing, but I know that the savings or the surplus is caused by the COVID-19 because we're working out of office in most cases. How are we going to ensure that we are consistent on that without also going outside the parameters of good financial management? Two, Chair, on questions is the HR-related matters. On disciplinary cases, are we finalizing the cases within a acceptable time, reasonable time? And how, probably is more specific, I should have submitted a written a question on this one, that are we within this permissible time, reasonable time in terms of turnaround on finalizing disciplinary cases, if there are any? Other than that, Chair, I don't want to be tempted to raise issues which are outside the presentation. Safe to say that in terms of constituents' use offices' usefulness to the communities, and also party fund, political party funding and the likes, I think at the near future, this committee must engage on that and see whether which will be the best option, which of course will include also the provinces or the legislators, as it were, when we engage on those matters, because I think that there is a serious transformation that we need to engage on, or discussion, which might also assist in terms of making sure that there's a balance in terms of the usefulness of the constituent offices, in terms of assisting our communities, and also vis-a-vis party political funding. I think that's it. But also the very last one is the issue of permit, which Acting Secretary spoke to, is that, which is Act of Parliament, that what will be the best approach that to amend the Permit or Medical Aid Act to ensure that there is a flexibility of freedom of choice, which is enshrined in the Constitution for members. Because as it stands now, it doesn't have that flexibility. It's either or you don't. Or fortunately, the new members on the 6th administration, they did not all of them join a permit. But also, that's why all the time we always complain about the permit, that it's quite an expensive vehicle, which
recording
doesn't give us
stopped.
I know that there was a tax team led by Mebu Roto to deal with this, or by the Deputy Speaker, and I'm sure that in the near future we'll engage on that and get the progress thereof. Thank you very much, Chair. And once more, thanks for the good work, Madam Speaker, and your team led by Ms. Jawa administratively. Thank you. I'm done, coaches. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Melisoma.
Recording in
Honorable
progress.
Kaiso. Honorable
Yes, thank you.
Kaiso, you're next.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Co-Chair. Will you allow me not to display my video because I risk the network is going to put me off here. Will you allow me to? Yes.
No, it's fine. It's understandable.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Co-Chair. I just want to also take the cue in welcoming the Speaker and the report that it has been presented before this committee by the Acting Secretary. In fact, one would like to welcome and congratulate that report, which displays a good successful work which has been done over a period of time, and give credit to all the success areas which the report has indicated. And I must say it, Honorable Co-Chair, that there are other areas which one would say are a milestone. If you look at, I mean, the issue of how the issue of the budget of Parliament has now been put on the spot in as far as, you know, the Parliament having now to gradually taking over the charge in as far as, you know, determining the budget moving forward from the previous way of doing things that, okay, Treasury will just determine. But I just wanted to highlight some of the areas of milestone because this area has been there for many, many years. We could not get it right. But I think now, since the fifth democratic administration to us, now we are at the sixth democratic administration, we are now beginning to see the progress. I just wanted to make emphasis and, you know, credit all those areas which I'm saying are a milestone in as far as the sixth Parliament is concerned, and the report has highlighted that. I just wanted to raise sharply those areas of milestone. And secondly, I know it has been put forward in the slide in as far as, you know, how Parliament is able to reach the entire population in as far as its work, you know, communicating to our people through different ways. But I think I still need to, one has to put emphasis, because our population, if you look at especially the poorest in far-flung areas, you find a larger population of people who, you know, do not have, you know, access to internet and you know, this website, and they are ordinary working class people. So I think there must be a way to, you know, to research that area and have a concrete, you know, a understanding as to when we say they have a way of reaching out to understand and get knowledge of what is actually the work of Parliament is from that ground level. It will be, you know, better in future that one has to get that convincing, you know, side, because it is, you know, if one reads a publication and where people are able to access electronic material and print, it's in the secluded, you know, middle class areas and other areas. There has to be an emphasis that goes in as far as those far-flung areas of the working class that they are able to get it. So it's one of the areas that I would like to put it forward, Honorable Co-Chair. Thank you very much, and the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kaiso. Any other member who wants to have a bite on the matter? No one. I think I wanted to speak to the issue of permit, but I think 2 members have raised it. And Measure, I think you understand the frustrations that we are having, or we had, as we were raising this issue of permit, that members are not comfortable with the way in which the permit issue is being introduced or given to members. Like, the members do not have choice. That's what we know. But if there are changes, that we have choice, and we will not. If we choose other medical aid, we will not lose on the subsidy from Parliament. That also needs to be clarified. I think on other issues, members have clarified. I mean, have covered me. My apologies. I've not acknowledged the presence of PBO. I saw the director of PBO is on the platform. Honorable judges, you are welcomed. I'm sorry I overlooked that. It's an oversight. Mechawa, you, with your team, you can respond and help members.
Thank you so much. Co-Chair, I'm going to ask my colleagues to answer some of the questions. I do, however, want to just talk on, permit has got 2 components. The one is that it's an act of Parliament, a matter that we are going to be discussing with the Speaker and the Chairperson, and of course that those engagements must ensue within the Board of Permit. In terms of the administration thereof, why we're raising it as administration is because we are responsible for it. On an annual basis, we spend about 100 million, and that 100 million sits in our operational budget. That is why, as in terms of the meeting we had day before yesterday with Treasury, we indicated to them that we would rather, because it might take long to reverse or have members making choices on their medical aid, so meaning that we'll still have to carry it. So we are making proposals and going to be working with our legal teams. Say, should it not be treated as a direct charge? And I'm happy that Henrik McGregor, who's our Treasury Officer, is seized with that. And we are, in terms of the official, at an official level, we are saying, how do we handle it so that it doesn't burden our OPEX and doesn't look not so good on our books? Because it is an act, 1999, Parliament approved a medical and aid contribution for former members of Parliament and provincial legislatures. So that we carry that. Up until that discussion happens, which has to happen at a political level with the board, we as officials are going to say, use a different vehicle because it distorts our baseline. And that's what we've been discussing with Treasury yesterday. And Honorable Mletsani, we started discussing this thing, at least since I arrived here from 2014. And Treasury was very clear that they don't have a vehicle. We are not part of the Public Sector Act, so they can't even carry it in the GPF. And there was a proposal of creating a vehicle. And I know that through Mabrato's member support, there was a meeting with Alexander Forbes trying to assess them. So there's a whole range of things that could be done. But in the interim, we are working with our Treasury officials so that when we come to present to you our budget, you can see what is our actual OPEX, what is our actual wage bill. Each time we have to decipher and take out that end. Often that's what makes Treasury to just rudimentary, just reduce our wage bill, yet we carry permit. But we will want the battle of separating that amount. So just to confirm, there's 2 levels to it. There's a political process that in terms of the act itself, that should be, we will be submitting to our executive authority on that matter, and then engagement with the board. But in terms of administration, we'll deal with it with Treasury in the manner that we're trying to address it. In terms of the rollovers, Honorable Suma, we agree at least what the FMPPLA does. It says for all retained funds in terms of Section 22, environments between divisions and across divisions and any other unspent one, the one that we return to the national revenue is the direct charge. Budget that is appropriated, the Executive Authority of Parliament has a policy that they've signed to invest that money. As the AG was saying, it's now sitting at 321 million. That is an amount that's now been invested. And then we're going to send to the Executive Authority a proposal on how we should invest in the infrastructure given COVID, particularly ICT infrastructure. And we have those proposals. That assists because we can't finish all of that, but we can spend it properly around the reinvesting into improving the systems in Parliament, particularly the ICT systems and digitization. We have some programs that we're looking at. On the matter of the questions, Honorable Julius, I'm going to ask Mr. Kaso to address it. On the matter of the reach, I want Mr. Moloto to talk to it because between him and also Mem Rashida Beck, they are driving public participation, access to information, but Mr. Moloto will deal with that. So I'll give over to Mr. Kaso to deal with the matters of the questions and legal services. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you.
May I, Chairperson?
Mr. Kaso.
Thank you, ma'am. Just in relation to questions, on the 2nd of September, the House adopted a mechanism which is meant to be used to monitor delayed replies to questions and to ensure compliance by the executive. Now, in terms of this mechanism, on a quarterly basis, the Speaker writes to ministers who have delayed replies and seeking for reasons why the replies have not been submitted. And where there is continuous non-compliance, the mechanism makes provision for a reprimand in the House. Now, it's still early to assess the effectiveness of the mechanism, but just to say that the Rules Committee has recognized the need to manage this matter, and the mechanism has been put in place. In relation to legal services, I'm going to ask Ms. Beck to respond to that, except to say that it would assist if there were specific instances where this matter had occurred that could be addressed, but Ms. Beck could respond generally on how legal services has performed in the year under question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. Good afternoon, Chairperson, Speaker, Acting Secretary, and colleagues. As Mr. Castle has indicated, Honourable Julius, it would have been good to get the details around the specific request for legal services. The target for legal services in the previous financial year was that of a 7-day average to provide legal support to committees. Their performance has been audited by the AG, and they have achieved the target. So I would really be keen to know in which instances that committees required support and that the information was provided late. We have a small team of legal advisors supporting the 50+ committees of Parliament. And we do need to allocate resources where it's required and where committees are dealing with urgent matters. So in this particular instance, I need to say that perhaps if I can get the details, we can look into it. And going forward, we're obviously looking towards resourcing legal services to make sure that we're able to provide adequate support to all the committees. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I am through you, Chairperson. I'd like Mr. Moloto to talk on the reach and also to talk about segmentation in the studio. And then from then on, I'd like the HRE, Mr. Mokonyana Mpo, to speak on the HR matters, and the DCs that we engaged with currently. Thank you so much through you, Chair. Over to you, Lord.
It's fine, thanks.
Yes, no, thank you very much, Acting Secretary, as well as the honorable members and the co-chairpersons. We continue to endeavor to ensure that a great percentage of South Africans do get our messages and have access to information on the business of Parliament. Hence, we have a package of strategic interventions in form of platforms to reach and interact with the people, particularly in the remotest rural villages, as the honorable member has alluded to. This includes the collaboration with community radio stations. We have entered into memorandums of understanding with Centec and directly with the National Community Radio Forum for direct broadcast of parliamentary activities on those platforms, thereby cutting the middlemen and making the exercise a bit affordable. And we thank the Acting Secretary really for driving this process and for being passionate about it. One of the surveys that we conduct on an annual basis tell us that there is a huge penetration of access to television by rural villages and informal settlements than it was the case about 10 years ago. And therefore, this makes communication through television much easier. Hence, we are investing in our own television station. And production of documentaries and content that is informative, that is educational to the people of South Africa, so that they understand this complex institution that is Parliament and how it operates and how it serves their interest. We have, as you will, colleagues will know, and honorable members, completed the state-of-the-art parliamentary television studio. And we are in the process of seeking licensing to ensure we extend our reach to as many South Africans as possible. And this, of course, will require Parliament to create a special legislation and to ensure that we are able to take advantage of even the migration to the digital broadcasting. So we have also had discussion with within the context of the high penetration of television and access to television by the majority of South Africans, even in the rural villages. And there is quite a lot, significant subscription as well to multi-choice platforms. Hence, we have had discussion with multi-choice, whom we are partnering with in terms of broadcasting to ensure that parliamentary channel is available even on the lowest bouquet that will cost you around 100 and something rands, which majority of South Africans in the rural villages and formal settlements particularly are having access to that. So, but finally, I think we must also allude to the fact that we are in the process of conducting our own audience segmentation for the first time in many years. That will actually tell us, whether the strategies that we're employing are in a good direction. To ensure that we know what kind of society, the type of audiences that we are serving, where do they live, what kind of platforms are they using, etc. So we are hopeful that by the end of this financial year, we will be having an idea and an outcome as a result of this project that we've embarked on. Thank you very much, Co-Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. With your permission, let me ask Mr. Mapisa-Nqakula to speak on the HR-related matters. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, honorable co-chairs, honorable speaker, and honorable members. On the question of the disciplinary processes, let me respond, honorable co-chairs, by firstly stating that we actually have approved disciplinary procedures and grievance procedures, and both those procedures have been agreed to as well in the collective agreement with our partners, organized labor. And I can assure members that when we deal with issues of disciplinary or grievance, it is in line with those procedures as approved. That's one. But secondly, just to give honorable members an assurance, we also have another assurance step where on a quarterly basis, we report to the audit committee in terms of the status of our disciplinary cases, as well as our grievance cases in the institution. So all our cases are dealt with in line with those procedures as approved and agreed to with organized labor. Thank you very much, honorable coaches.
I think the chair was asking the length, how long it takes, but I'm subject to correction, honorable chair.
Okay, they can make additions, or you want them to expand, it's fine.
Okay.
On average.
Like I'm saying, it depends, because, for example, if you have you can have an internal case, which in terms of our time frames is normally dealt with within 28 working days. But in some cases, you then have a case that would involve, for example, external legal practitioners, and that as well is dealt with in terms of various steps that are captured in terms of our procedures, where, for example, both parties will have an opportunity to get legal support within particular time frames, get an independent chairperson, and those processes are clearly articulated in terms of our procedures. So again, the internal process in terms of our grievance is 28 working days, unless it goes outside of the parliamentary space, even though as Parliament will still follow up with those cases. For example, when a case goes to the CCMA, it will depend on the availability of the commissioners. The CCMA operates according to certain standards, so they'll give us 14 days, they'll give us 20 X number of days for them to respond. So everything is in line with what has been set out in terms of our procedures.
Chairperson, thank you so much. I think we have covered most of the questions raised by members. From my side, I just want to say, I just want to reiterate that our next survey is due on Tuesday. We will be sending you member satisfaction survey questionnaire link, and we will send you communication because we'd like to get that information from yourselves. Thank you so much, co-chairs. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Team Parliament. Can I check from the members who wants to come in for the second time or for the first time? This is the second round. You are allowed to have a second bite. Okay. Members are satisfied with the responses that they got from the team. Maybe one has to say that to the speaker before we close. Actually, before we close, Whip, Honorable Khadeb, I just don't feel comfortable as the whip if you don't speak. Honorable Khadeb, you have spoken, I know, in the beginning. In terms of the presentation, do you want to say anything? I think he's experiencing a network problem. But anyway, before I give to the speaker to say her final remarks, it's not in the agenda, but I will go out of the way to allow her to speak because it's our first time being with her. And we need to give her that the leverage to engage with us and also get a feeling of what she is taking in as far as the performance of the engagements in the committee. Maybe before I do that, Honorable Speaker, is that this is one of the committees that has been experiencing punches left, right, and center as we joined the 6th Parliament. That it was not performing well, or we were not, or they were not, whoever. But it's a committee that was perceived, if for the lack of a better word, if it is a perception, it was perceived to be a sweetheart of committee towards Parliament. We looked like we don't have teeth. But I just want to say to you, Honorable Speaker, that one is proud to be part of this team, because when we are in this committee, we don't operate or work as political parties, but we work as team members, as committee members. Hence, today we can see the indication or the outcome of what we have been trying to raise with the management of Parliament, that the performance of Parliament has improved. And I think I'll be representing members to say we appreciate that at the end of the day, you were able to acknowledge and take to account what we have been raising as issues that are affecting either Parliament, either members or officials, the performance of Parliament. We want to appreciate that, and we want to keep going up, because there's always a room for improvement. So these good indicators that we are seeing today is as a result of the engagement or the issues that have been raised by members. So members of the committee, I want to thank you very much for raising issues and being robust when we engage and getting the cooperation from the management and not seeing us as policing them. Can I request the Honorable Speaker to have remarks? Honorable Speaker,
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank the Office of the Auditor General for the comments made earlier on. Chairperson, honestly, I should say this, I'm humbled by
recording stopped.
The committee deals with issues relevant to the finances of Parliament. But I also should indicate to the committee members that I am grateful to the staff of Parliament, the executive of Parliament, particularly the management through Ms. Kiawa, Mr. Kaso, for the manner in which they have assisted me as they were ushering me into this office. I must say that a whole lot of issues which were discussed here this afternoon are issues I'm quite familiar with, because Ms. Kiawa, together with Henry from the Budget Office, have been very useful in briefing me about issues some of which I should take up with the Minister of Finance. For instance, I have noted the comments made with regards to PAMED. And I know that this is one of the trickiest and the most difficult of issues because this was passed through legislation by Parliament. However, the fact that it is impacting on our baseline as Parliament is what I think creates a big challenge and therefore requires our attention together with the Minister of Finance. The other matter, of course, is that of allocation to political parties, because the question which has arisen from the Ms. Kiawa and team is why should allocation to political parties be done from the budget of Parliament? This is something which can be attended to separately by National Treasury. And I think I'm quite sympathetic to that, Honorable Chairpersons. I've also observed the will to keep us even on check by the Ms. Kiawa, by the Secretary of Parliament's team. For instance, the last time when we interacted, one of the things they are proposing is that of doing an audit, as in physical audit of all constituency offices, because there are instances where they are not certain whether there exists a constituency office in a particular area or not. And I thought, well, when they said, look, this is the decision they have taken, I felt, wow, I mean, I'm amazed because it's going to be quite a tedious exercise, but that they want to do so, not through the reports, but actually do the actual inspection and verify for themselves whether we do have the number of constituencies which are reported every day. I felt that for me was a demonstration of a deep sense of commitment and efficiency. The last matter, which I think I should touch on, is the matter of the Audit Committee Chairperson. Ms. Kiawa has been really, I must say that the campaign and our absence in Parliament did impact negatively on some of the decisions which require our immediate attention. And I want to make an example with regards to the Audit Committee, for instance, of Parliament, and how adverts have been sent out and all that is left is, and applications received, and all that is left is now for a shortlisting process, which process was delayed by us as the executive because we have not been available to conduct that shortlisting. But now that we are all back in Parliament and elections are over, I just want to assure the honorable members that one of our immediate tasks is that of conducting this shortlisting so that we can interview and have a well-constituted audit committee. Well, let me end by saying one of the biggest challenges which were reported to me is that of payment for gratuity for members who are exiting Parliament. I'm informed that this too tends to hit us very hard because the numbers of people, the turnover in Parliament, numbers of people who exit Parliament is way higher than what we used to experience in the past. So that matter too, I want to assure you, honorable members, and I also want to assure the Office of the Auditor General that these are matters I'm aware that the team is seized with. Even that matter of the gratuity is a matter which they have raised with me, and therefore we're looking at a cut-off sort of period. We're looking at capping the years which a person has served in Parliament in order for them to receive the kind of gratuity which comes, by the way, from the baseline of Parliament, of parliamentary budget. So these are some of the matters which create a problem, but I can assure you that, new as I am, the staff has taken me through all of these issues and have made me see. They've opened my eyes and empowered me so that when I engage in discussions with the Minister of Finance, we can then deal with these issues. Honorable members, once more, I thank you, and I want to make an undertaking here that we will be working very closely and we will be interacting with you as has been the tradition. I will continue along those lines too. I thank you, Chairperson. I thank you, Secretary of Parliament. I think sometimes, at the height of the election campaign, sometimes I would feel, she's putting us under a lot of pressure, but I do understand why. I thank you and your team, and I do want to thank once more the Office of the Auditor General. And I've taken to heart that the team does not interact with the Office of the Auditor General as like it is dealing with policemen and women. They are open to discuss and engage with the Office of the Auditor General, which is what the Auditor General always hampers. That look, he should always emphasize the point that we're not enemies. We are assisting you. We're seeking to enhance productivity on your side as politicians. So I thank you, Office of the Auditor General, for your remarks here at this meeting. And once more, Chairpersons, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and the team from Parliament. And I was clear to say that I'm going to request the Speaker to have closing remarks. I would not expect anyone to want to speak to what you have just said. We welcome your remarks and the commitment that you are declaring to the committee and also to the country, because we always remember at all times that we are here not on our behalf, but on behalf of those people who have sent us and gave us a mandate to represent them for bettering their lives. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Team Parliament, thank you for availing yourself all the time. And I'm made to understand that our next meeting is on Friday. Cindy, what time? 12 o'clock?
Yes, Chairperson, our next meeting is on Friday the 19th, next week Friday. The meeting of this coming Friday has been postponed owing to Treasury's unavailability.
Okay, because I remember the documents that you have sent to us yesterday. Okay. Thank you very much, honorable members. We will see each other next week, Friday. And as I said, when I opened, we'll be recharging as we go on. And I also want to appreciate your availability in this committee, prioritizing, because I know there are several clashes of meetings. Even myself, I had a meeting that was supposed to start exactly at 2, but there's another one, and you and all of us, we have other meetings that we still continue engaging on for the rest of today going forward. And I can only wish you for the best. Take care of yourselves and your families, and may God always be with you at all times. Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Amen.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.